Passion, purpose, possibilities. They're all right there. But sometimes we need a little push. And that's where SheSez comes in. Think of it as a master class taught by the world's most interesting women, sharing stories and ideas, because girlfriends help each other. This is SheSez with Linda Grasso. Hello and welcome to SheSez. Our guest today is Liberté Chan. Liberté is a meteorologist and news reporter at KTLA in Los Angeles, working on the #1 rated morning show in the market. Since graduating from college, Liberté has felt destined to be a broadcaster. But her climb to the top wasn't easy. It was a circuitous journey filled with lots of bumps, including a couple of deflating demotions. But Liberté refused to give up. She is also a fitness freak, a certified yoga teacher with over 100,000 followers on social media, and she co-owns an athleisure clothing line called Sweat with Soul. Liberté, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
So Liberté, what a beautiful name. Your mom came up with that? Tell me about her and how she
did.
named you. We got to get that out of the way.
Sure. It's not a made-up first name. Everyone always asks,
Right.
did you name yourself? No.
Right.
It's from my mom.
It does sound like a broadcast name.
Exactly.
Very timely right now.
Exactly. So I feel blessed in having that name, right, especially right now. She is a 5-foot-tall Chinese woman, about 95 pounds. Force to be reckoned with. I should just add that. She came to the States when she was about 15 years old, went to Immaculate Heart and UCLA, and while she was reading a history book during the French Revolution, the whole motto, Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité, she loved the name and said, I'm going to name one of my kids. So I'm one of 3. I have 2 older brothers, and I got the name of Liberté.
It suits you.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your career. You started at KTLA, which is an independent station here in Los Angeles. It's been around for a long time. Back when there were only ABC, NBC, CBS, there was a Fox, and there was KTLA.
Yes.
It's a powerhouse. It's a local powerhouse, and you started there. Let's talk about your induction at KTLA. You were a low man on the totem pole.
I was definitely low, and I had absolutely no self-esteem at that point. I graduated college always wanting to be a journalist. I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to go to where all the action was, and I wanted to know all the information. I just felt like when I was watching television or news, everyone seemed to know everything. You know, the reporters, the anchors, you asked them a question, and they knew the answer. So that was really appealing to me. And I thought, how do I get there when I have absolutely no self-esteem and don't think I can get there?
And I want to jump in here. This is a really funny moment for you and me when we were initially talking on the phone. I was a broadcaster as well. And you and I shared something that we were both terrified to be on camera. Terrified.
Yeah.
Like I literally think I broke out in hives over even the thought of it. And yet this weird thing we both had, we pushed ourselves towards that.
Yeah.
Wow. Why did you do that? I'm not quite sure why I did it.
Gosh, I suffered from anxiety. Like I was clinically depressed. I had anxiety like before a live shot. I had all of it, even anxiety when I became a news writer. And I don't get into how I did that, but I would have to take medication so that the heart would not race and that I wouldn't get the sweats. It was so bad, but there was something stronger, I think, inside of me that kept pushing me and saying, okay, you're not going to let this condition that you have, this fear of stop you from what you ultimately want. And I think for me, I constantly just like to get out of my comfort zone, and I see a challenge and I want to accomplish something. I want to go past that. I want to go to the edge and jump, because I feel like, you'll grow your wings. You'll find your way if you just try.
So you were basically armed with a degree from, University of Massachusetts at Amherst. You had a print journalism degree, and then you got like a broadcasting degree, a shorter program at UCLA. So you went into KTLA and you at least had some education behind your belt, and you had this gut intuition about what you wanted. And what was your first job?
I was an intern for a health reporter there. Her name was Marta Waller, and she was also an anchor. And she took me under her wing, and she told me that she saw a little bit of herself in me, because when she started, I think that she had like a fear of speaking in front of the camera, and I don't want to talk to for her, but I think, she was a little, some people are born with it and they just know and they have that confidence. And I don't think that she was one of those people. I think it kind of grew and evolved.
So she took you under her wing?
So she took me under her wing, and then she introduced me to a great producer who's still there, who's still a very good friend. And I started to just show up, and I just kept showing up, even if I wasn't scheduled to be an intern that day. I would call her and say, "Can I just come in and sit maybe with the writers? I really want to learn how to write. I really want to maybe go out in the field with a reporter and shadow them." And she's like, "Yeah, come in." And that's the thing about KTLA. It's like once you're in, it's like this. It's a family. And so I became friends with the writers and the producers, and I would just spend 8 hours a day just next to them. And my producer on the news at 10 at the time, her name's Christine, and like I said, she's still there. She would throw me a couple VOs and a voiceover, like a 25-second story, and it was everything to me. I was like, okay, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to figure out the information. I'm going to gather all the news, and I'm going to write this. I'm going to edit it, and it's going to be awesome. But then I also had a fear of failing. So I would check and recheck and double check and triple check and ask everyone around me, did I do it the right way? And once one of the anchors would read what I wrote, it was just heavenly for me. It was this, I felt elated and finally like I could do it. So it was many, many hours of doing that and a couple years before I felt like I could actually go out and be a reporter myself.
Well, when you were there, you actually got a job. You went from intern to a full-time job, right?
Yes.
What was that job?
So I became a news writer.
A news writer.
So after working for about 6 months, just for free as an intern, learning, I took the writing test and I passed. And that was another big moment in my life. And I became a news writer. And at that time, I went back to school because I also became really kind of obsessed with health and fitness. And I thought, well, I want to be a health reporter. So I'm going to go back to school because for me, I felt like education always gave me a little bit more confidence, so
and this
I
is
needed that.
Is your Chinese powerhouse mama putting you through school and getting you all these degrees.
It was
what an amazing mother.
Yeah, she's definitely amazing, and education for her was everything. So she thankfully, her and my stepdad paid for my schooling, and I'm so grateful for that. But I did get a master's degree in public health as I was a news writer at KTLA.
Little did you know how later all these elements would weave together in creating the woman that you are and the success that you're having now. But let's stay in the past for a bit. You had to do what many news reporters have to do, including me. You started a big market, which a bigger market, which I did too, and then you had to move away because if you don't do it, all those other girls are going to do it. You got to go to the small markets and learn your craft of being on air. What was your first stop?
My first stop was, I really wanted Santa Barbara, and they said no. So I said, okay, I'll go an hour north to Santa Maria. And they said yes. And this is after sending my tape out to, hundreds of different stations. And luckily, I was able to stay in California, which I think was a blessing. I could come back here on the weekends, which for me at that time, weekends were Mondays and Tuesdays, which was great. So I would work up in Santa Maria 5 days a week. I would come back here to LA. And yeah, I would just kind of live in both worlds, but knowing that I was not going to be a lifer in that small market. I was going to learn my craft. I was going to stumble. I was going to cry pretty much every day and not be able to do the job. At least I didn't think I could do the job. But eventually, 2.5 years later, I was able to hone my craft. And you got find my voice.
And you got another job, which was a promotion, because then at that point you were anchoring, and that was in Palm Springs?
Yeah. Then I jumped to Palm Springs, to, I don't even remember, an NBC station, KMIR. I think it's still there. And I became the morning news anchor, and I was there for about a year. And then someone came in, who I'm now friends with, who now works at KTLA with me, and she was hired to take my job.
Never a fun experience.
No, that was humbling. So then it was
just out of curiosity, just completely subjective. Someone felt that she was going to do a better job than you. What was it? She had more experience? Do you know?
I think it was
not that it matters, but
I think every time, and maybe you can attest to this, when a news director comes in, they want to bring their own people. They want to, redo the show. And I think we had a new news director, and she wanted to bring in some different talent.
Okay.
So that was
Just always like to hear all these silly reasons because they just don't matter.
Exactly. So then I was plucked from the anchor desk, and I was told that, we're not going to get a photographer for you. You're going to have to learn how to shoot, edit, report, go live, all on your own.
And by the way, if you're an anchor, that's a serious demotion.
Yeah, that did not feel good. That was not. But I felt like, you know what? Okay, I'm dealt this situation. I'll do it. I'll learn, because I feel like that will help me inevitably, because that's where the world is going. You need to learn how to produce and edit and write and do everything. I think the product suffers if you do everything and you don't have a photographer, you don't have a producer, you don't have any of the other.
I think it's absolutely insane. It's insane when you're a news reporter and you get to a horrific crime and, sorry, Mom, I'm cussing. Shit's hitting the fan. And, it's so hard just to get all the facts right, much less you're shooting, editing. You know what the situation is. You get there and in 10 minutes, we're going to be taking you live. But I just got here. I
don't know any information.
I don't have anything. Just doesn't matter. Just go. I remember in New York City that happened to me once. And then the GM was so critical of my performance. I thought, Guy, I just got there in 5 minutes. Of course I wasn't ready to go live. So now these young reporters are coming in and they have to shoot and edit and they've got all this heavy equipment and, and the reporting has to suffer.
Yeah, I mean, 100-degree heat and you're carrying around a camera and driving yourself to live shot. It's not fun.
Did you do it, and for how many months?
I did it for about 3 to 4 months, and then I made a decision. This is not for me. I'm going to go back to LA. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but the goal was always to get back to LA and become a reporter at KTLA. That was the dream. That was the goal. That's what I knew in my heart was going to happen. I didn't know how it would happen, but I knew it was going to happen. And that's a huge jump.
I was
from
just going to
Palm Springs
say,
to LA.
That's a huge jump. You were very, very optimistic, because that big a jump typically doesn't happen.
Right.
In that business.
Right. But I knew I knew there was going to be a way. I just knew in my heart that was for me.
So when you went back, was the same news director there?
Different news director at KTLA. I was hired back on, so I left my job in Palm Springs. I was hired back on as a web producer. And it was funny because the producer who actually taught me how to write as an intern was now producing the web. So she took me back under her wing and said, yeah, we'll get you a job here. And who knows, just go talk to your Jason, who's currently our news director, who I adore, Jason Ball. He's great. He's a great news director. She said, just start talking to him, see where he's at. Maybe someone will call in sick, show him your tape. You never know. And I said, you're right. Okay, so I'm going to sit behind a computer all day while everyone else goes out in the field. I know that I can do this job. I've done this job for 5 years. Yes, it was in a small market, but this is where I live. This is where I grew up. I want to be a reporter here in Los Angeles, where all my friends and family are living.
So when did you get your first break?
It was about 3 months after working on the web. I think it was around the holidays, and they needed to fill a spot. And they said, we have a tamale story. Why don't you do the tamale story around Christmas time? That's what we do.
Perfect. You're going to be using all these 3 degrees you have.
And so I went, to some tamale place, and I think I stumbled. It was not pretty. It was not great. I was not proud of my experience. I think I went back into the live van and cried my eyes out all night, thinking they're never going to give me another chance. But somehow, some way, I got another chance. And then every week I would get, a day here, a day there. But I was still working on the web. So I was sort of splitting my time between web producing and being a per diem reporter. And I just kept at it, and I kept going in to Jason's office. And, when people were sick, I was like, I'm here. If you need someone to fill in, I'm here. I can do it.
So did you get hired on air as a reporter first or a meteorologist? Did you then start trying out meteorology as well? I mean, it's interesting that you're doing both in such a big market. Typically, you got to pick your pony when you come to the big markets.
That's true. So eventually, I think I was not so terrible. Not a very eloquent way to explain my situation, but
well, you did something that was okay. You obviously met the muster in some sense.
I didn't suck, so I kept. Sorry. I was able to go back, and I was hired and rehired, and then one day turned into 2 days, turned into 3 days, and so on. And then finally, I think I was up to like 3 or 4 days a week reporting. So I said goodbye to the web, and I just want to do the whole reporting thing. And then the meteorology thing just came up because I think they were trying to fill the schedule, and I was pretty good friends with the assistant news director at the time, and I walked into her office, and I think I was trying to get more days reporting, and she looked at me and she goes, "Have you ever thought about doing weather?" And I said, "No, but I can learn." And she goes, "Oh, why don't you do that?" She's like, "I'm trying to fill the schedule, and we're down a person, and everyone wants to take vacation, and everyone, is calling in sick. Like, I need another person, and I feel like you'd look great in a dress, go up on the green screen, learn how to work the computers, learn how to produce. We can't get you a producer. You're going to have to produce, but, maybe we can give you a shot." So once again, I went in and I basically became a quote unquote intern with the weather producer on the morning. His name's Warren. He's still there. He's been there for 25 years, since the very beginning.
I
And
love
he's
this
so
place,
sweet.
KTLA.
He's so
Why didn't I
sweet.
ever work at a shop like this? Everyone stays. Everyone loves it.
I'm telling
like family.
you, it really is.
That's
It
amazing,
really
though, how
is.
many people are still there, though,
It
seriously.
really is. Yeah, and that's a testament to
Well,
the
Sam
place.
Rubin. I mean, I've known him forever, and he's still there. He's still the
Yeah.
morning entertainment
I mean,
reporter,
I remember,
right?
and he's going to kill me if he hears this, but he hears this all the time. I remember watching him as a kid, and now I get to
Oh,
work with him.
Sam, I know you're loving this.
I know,
And this
he
is my
hates
gift
me.
to
He
you,
hates
having
me.
known you
He
for so
hates-
long.
I'll be there. We're all going in the same direction, so, I'll be there. I'm sure someone will say that about me as well, God willing. So I learned how to produce the weather, and I learned how to work the green screen, which anyone who's ever been on a green screen, it's opposite. It's a mirror. It's different. You're pointing to the left, and it's really the right. So something has to work differently in your mind, and I finally got it. I put together a tape, and once again, I'm in there with Jason, and I showed him the tape, and me and the assistant news director, who really wanted me to get this next gig, she's like, "Well," I showed her the tape, and she's like, "Well, maybe try again. Like, give yourself another couple weeks, do it, practice, do it again." And finally, I came up with a tape, and she's like, "Well, that's not too bad." So I remember I think I worked as a reporter one day, and our weather meteorologist, Vera, was sick. She had to go home sick, and I had already left the station. And then I get this frantic call. I'm at dinner having a glass of wine. And they
Probably
said,
better.
"Can you come back? Can you come back and do the weather at 10 and 11? And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And they go, "Vera called out sick, and we don't have anyone to replace her. We know you can do it now." And I said, "Sure, I'll be there in 30 minutes." I rushed home. I got some sort of address. I went back, and I was so nervous. I called my best friend, who is a meteorologist at another station, and I said, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to talk about?" And she's like, "It's okay. You're going to say this. It's sunny and mild right now. We have high pressure in control." And I was like, "Okay, I got this. And again, I don't think it was the best performance, but it wasn't terrible. And they said, "Huh, okay, maybe this girl can do this." So then I kept getting 1 day a week weather, and I would report as well. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna go balls to the wall and just do this. I need another degree, because I'm not just gonna be a pretty girl, or
Right. You want to be a meteorologist.
in a dress, in
Yeah.
a little dress, and voluminous hair, just showing the weather. I wanted to know about what I was talking about. I didn't just want to read it and research and be a reporter who was doing the weather. I wanted to be a meteorologist. So I went back to school.
4th degree.
Yes, I'm a lifelong learner. But again, I feel like for me, education helps me gain that confidence.
100%. And it's always it gives you confidence, and it also gives you the edge over the other person who
I think so.
isn't a meteorologist. No, I think
Yeah.
it's a win-win.
Yeah. And so I went back to school, and it was a 3-year intensive program. And at that time, they gave me the weekend weather position. I was hired full-time staff position, and then
So
here I am today.
what do you prefer? Do you prefer being a news reporter, a general assignment reporter, or being a meteorologist? What do you see in your future? Will you go one direction or the other?
I like them both.
Really?
I like them both because the meteorology is great. I mean, it's easier to be in studio. You have a restroom, you have a coffee place, you have everything at your fingertips. And we've talked about this, that when you're out in the field,
Right.
you don't know where, your next meal is going to be. You pack a lunch. There are different.
No,
You're out in the elements.
no, there are all these hardships to being a news reporter. I just
Yeah.
remember being in the back of a van with no windows. My crew is in front, riding around markets, no window,
Right.
not knowing when we were gonna like be able to get some water or go to the bathroom. You could
Mhm.
leave the station at 8 o'clock in the morning and come back after your live shots at 7.
Exactly.
No, you may have time for lunch, you may not. I mean, it was
Exactly.
not It's not glamorous
No.
at all.
No, it is not glamorous.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really a job for somebody who's hungry and young and
But I love it. You know, I do love it. I think for me, it would end up being a grind if I had to do it 5 days a week. So right now, I think it's the perfect situation for me. I get to do weather 4 days a week, report 1 day a week, and it's perfect. I can still tell my stories. I can still pitch stories. I can still talk to people.
So do you have your dream job then?
You know, I think I do, or I've kind of closed the gap between where I was and where I wanted to be, but now it's changed. So now I'm at this sort of, as you call it, pivot in my life, and I don't know where that's going to take me. So it's scary and exciting, but I know it's going to end up okay. But I don't know what the exact dream job for me would be. Social media is a big part of what I do.
Well, let's talk about that because, you know, I do typically bring on women who've had some sort of pivot. Although I'm really super interested, and find myself leaning towards women that are just fascinating who've done bold moves. Look, doing what you've done. Those are bold moves, and you have a compelling story. I loved hearing about how you got so many no's and you got kicked down. You got demoted. I mean, you just keep coming back. You went from a tiny market like Palm Springs, and you got in what is LA? What the
Number
top
2.
10? Still number 2. Okay, I mean that's compelling. Okay, but the other thing that I loved about you was you're masterful in what you're doing because you have 100,000 social media followers, which largely you got through your yoga. You're a yoga certified instructor. You're a fitness enthusiast.
Yes.
You're also gorgeous, and you pose in fabulous yoga workout athleisure outfits, and it's brilliant because those two things intertwine. There's no news station in this country that's not going to appreciate not just a woman with 4 degrees who's a meteorologist and a news reporter. No, you are. You're smart and you're educated, and but you also have this core audience that you bring in, and you're posting these fabulous shots of yourself on Instagram, and they're artistic, and they're tasteful, and they're beautiful, and you've got this cult following. 100,000 followers is a lot of followers. Do you have sponsors, like where people that, if you don't mind me asking, that pay you to drink their juice?
I wish.
I thought when you were in the 100,000 range, that was all possible suddenly.
Well, I think right now, if I worked at a network, I don't think that the social media would be possible for me. But working at an independent, I think things are changing at Tribune. We've got I don't know what the future holds. I think it's uncharted territory, especially for someone who's kind of straddling the news and the social media. I think they're just kind of blending right now.
Well, the only reason why I thought you did sponsor things is because the fabulous woman who does the social media for SheSez, a woman named Kalina, when I told her you were coming on, she said, "Oh, you've got Liberty Chan? Oh my God, have you seen her Instagram feed? I love her Instagram feed." And I'm like, wow, I hadn't even noticed her Instagram feed.
I do collaborations, but they're not paid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When you say collaborations, they'll be like teach a class or
like I'll
educate us, Liberty. I want to learn how all this works.
For something like Yoga Works, I can post a few pictures and maybe my monthly fee for paying for classes will be covered. Something like that.
Okay,
but it's not like, here's $10,000 if you post a picture. No, nothing like that.
Well,
I wish.
I just think it's brilliant what you're doing, though, because you're bringing in a core viewership. You've got fans, and you can talk to them. You can communicate with them. And, ostensibly, then they tune in to see you on the news.
I mean, for me, social media is more of a way to give me a voice that sometimes you don't have in news. It's the more personal side of me. It's, the fears, the struggles, the challenges. And I like to put out inspirational things because things that I feel that have helped me, I feel like they'll help others. So it's not just about pretty dresses and cool leggings and, you know, being fashionable when you travel. It's also, it's helpful for me. So I don't know. I kind of like to
Yeah.
share things that work for me because I feel like they'll help other people.
Well, and that's where your athleisure line comes in. You are actually having, you have uplifting,
Yeah.
empowerment phrases on them. What are
hmm
some of the phrases you have on
So
your?
I'm wearing one today, Woman Warrior.
I was going to
And
ask you if that was part of your line.
I brought one for you. It says just
Uh,
breathe. But for me,
Perfect.
exactly, right? Because you always have your breath until you don't. But you always do, and it's always readily available to you. So in any
Yeah.
situation, as I mentioned earlier, I suffered from, depression and anxiety. I was kind of a head case. And for me, I found yoga at 21 and it really helped quiet the noise, that negative self-talk. So it became more of a therapy. And that's what physical fitness is for me. It's more therapeutic and emotional than, I mean, of course, you get like a great body,
Yeah.
you lose weight and you feel great, but
Toning your
it's
muscles.
also
So
mental
when you say
stuff.
it quiets the noise, help me with that. Does it quiet the noise when you're actually in the class taking it or doing it at your home? Or does it last after the class?
Great question.
Because for me, it's only during the class. It's not lasting. And I'm just wondering how I can,
My
do I need,
teacher Mia would say, practice more.
really, in all my spare time?
Exactly. No, but you could sit here for 10 minutes and essentially do yoga just by breathing, focusing on your breath. That's more the
Hmm.
meditation. So for me, I think what you learn on the mat begins to spill off the mat in other parts of your life the more you do it. Just like anything, it's a muscle. The more you use it, the more it's going to grow. So when I first started doing yoga, I think I was like 15 pounds overweight. I just, gotten back from college and there was beer drinking and all sorts pizza eating and I wasn't being very good about my health food wise and diet wise. I was always athletic. I was a
Hmm.
competitive figure skater, but for me,
When you were younger, in high
when I was,
school, hmm, junior
yeah, and
high.
that's a whole other story.
We talked about that too.
Yes. So for me, the body mind connection was readily available. I knew what that felt like, and being out on the ice, I felt that connection and just that liberation almost, and the noise would quiet when I was out on the ice. And so then I found in my 20s when I was on the yoga mat, the noise would quiet. So one of the benefits of yoga is, it stops that incessant chatter, that
Hmm.
negative self-talk, that stuff that just keeps
Looping in your
playing,
head. Yeah.
yeah, like a broken record. That and many
Yeah.
times those thoughts are based on a false truth,
Hmm.
and they don't serve you. So yes, it helps when you're on the mat, but if you continue to do it, and I'll
How
be an
many times a week
advocate,
do you do it? How many times a week do you go to a yoga class?
5, 6
Oh, yeah, yeah,
times.
yeah. I should ask you to stand up and show your abs because I've seen them look on
go,
Instagram.
go to
It's
at
just,
Liberty.
go to at Liberty Chan. No, I mean, these pictures
No,
are
but
gorgeous. And I don't say that to objectify you at all.
no,
They're
thank
tasteful.
you.
You're a beautiful woman. You have a beautiful body and you work hard at it. Rock on. I
I
mean, it's
It's
you.
yoga, it's spinning, and it's also diet. I
Yeah.
think it's
Are you a
80%
vegan?
diet. I am a vegan,
Ah, I knew you were going to say that.
but I was a pescatarian for 10 years prior. So it was an easier transition, and I also have a ton of allergies, so.
Liberty, you seem so much like the woman who has it all. I'm sure to, our female listeners. You're single. You were
Yeah.
married once before, but you got a divorce, right? But you
Yes.
have a
I
boyfriend
have a
now.
boyfriend.
I just want to ask, do you see, not that this is the be all end all at all, but do you see marriage and children and like a family really having it all in your
Yeah,
future?
absolutely. I think you can have it all. I'm going to steal a line from Sam Rubin, who said that his mother told him, you can have it. Don't yell at me if I get this wrong, Sam. You can have it all, but you can't have it all at once. So I feel like up until now, I've set up this life, and thank you for saying that I have it all. I don't think I have it all, but I'm working toward having it all. Um, but I think that yes, children, at least one. Right now, I have a four paw for a baby at home. But
That you walk
yes,
and you
yes.
can take to the dog sitter when you go away. It's much
Exactly.
easier, my dear.
Exactly. I know. But yeah, I'll have a
Yeah.
kid
I like
at
what
some point.
Sam said. You can't have it all at once, but you can have it all. I
Mhm.
believe that as well.
Mhm.
Liberty, before we take off, I want to get some takeaways. What can we take away from your story?
Oh gosh. Ooh, little pearls of wisdom. Never give up. Find your passion and just stay focused on it and figure out what you love to do and go after it. You're going to get so many no's, but at some point, you'll get a yes. At some point. I don't know how long it's going to take, but you will get there. And just go to your edge and then try to go past it.
Liberty Chan, I've so much enjoyed getting a chance to know you and chatting with you. We have a lot in common.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us. We so appreciate it. Follow us on Instagram. You can see all the guests who are coming up, also on Facebook. And we drop every Tuesday. If you like what you're hearing, subscribe. Ask your kid how to subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Press a button like my mom did when I couldn't figure it out. And a new episode will pop up every Tuesday. Thanks again.